Morning everybody, let's have a look at some of these charts then, shall we? Starting off with the Nasdaq, because today is CPI day, isn't it really? So we've got CPI coming through. My best guess is that it's going to come through sort of as they expect, or maybe even a little lower. The reason I say that is because of oil, basically. Oil's the lagging indicator of the CPI as far as I can tell, really. And it's still been going down for the majority of the time. The last 4 or 5 weeks it's been going up, but I don't think that's going to reflect on this CPI. It'll reflect on next CPI, and it's a fine rejection, but I also see this as a retest. So actually, still pretty much bullish on oil. I've been layering into oil from these lower levels and had my first sell order triggered a few days back at 77. So pretty sweet. I still think that there's a good chance that oil makes its way to the 80s, 90s, maybe even beyond, over the next 12 months. So that'll be a problem for CPI moving forward, inflation and stuff. But for the moment, I don't think it's going to filter through. So back to Nasdaq, or the US 100, basically, where we see the continuation of the old trend signal on the Itchy Cloud, which is basically still in play. So this is what we're expecting. We're expecting Nasdaq to make new all-time highs. We've been saying that for a couple of weeks, but certainly even more so since recognising the trend signals in play. We've got one drive of bearish divergence. It's only a single drive. I won't be too worried about that. And obviously the S&P made a new all-time high yesterday with a single drive of bearish divergence. So look, I mean, as far as stocks are concerned, they're sort of painting the picture. They're telling the story that they want to keep going up, and any pullback on these ought to get bought, so long as we don't close below the centre of this Bollinger Band, I'd say, or the 21 exponential, which is anywhere below 5,696 as of today. So what does this mean for crypto? I don't know. What does it mean for crypto? Because it's not really, Bitcoin's not really responding to anything at all, actually. It's a difficult one, really, but if you were to base it upon what we see that the 200 exponentials below us, the 50s here, which is all part of what is a continuation of the Golden Cross, which took back basically a million years ago, February 2023, and it's very messy, but we're still above it, which gives the chances of a move back up to the top of the range more likely. But resistances exist all the way above us. 50 exponentials at 21,500, 21 exponential 62,100, center of the range 63,000 flat, 200 simple 63,500, and then beyond that we've got horizontals and descending trend lines. So lots going on, to be perfectly honest, as far as areas to be rejected from. They're all showing us the relevance of it. 21 rejection, 21 rejection, 21 10 rejection, 21 support, 20 simple rejection. It's a real fight going on around here, a real fight. So if you're going to base it upon anything, it's going to have to be based on momentum, and momentum has faded. It's not fully faded completely out into a zero, but I mean, it's, as far as MACD is concerned, crossing down towards, not below, the 0 point, which would likely to bring you down further. We're talking 57,000, which would be this medium zone that we've been in over the last couple of months. It could easily get retested and bought back up. But still, just recognising it for what it is, and again, should we just turn everything off just so we can see it? It's still a consolidation. It's as simple as that. Very long, continuous uptrend, followed by what feels like a long continuous downtrend, but not as long as the uptrend was. So really, this in theory could go on for longer, could go on for a fair bit longer. You'd normally expect about half the time of the uptrend to be in the downtrend, and as far as time's concerned, that could take you to the end of the year. But because of the CPI coming through today, and because I think it's going to be on point or lower than expected, then we should see a beneficial pump from that. Whether we can pump up and above these moving averages and then stay above them is a different story altogether. Maybe we don't even get that at all. The only reason I'm saying that, and again, these are just thoughts and theories, because we're basing it around financial news coming out. Maybe you can make the case that it's not just me that thinks that CPI is going to be on point or lower. It's the general markets, not the crypto market, but stocks, indices, because they have been creeping up anyway, haven't they? They've been moving up. Normally, the markets tell you what is going to happen, and it seems to be a risk-on environment for stocks. as they keep basically moving up. Again, yesterday making new all-time highs. So is the rumour bought and the news to be sold? Perhaps, maybe that is the case. If that is the case, then Bitcoin's in a bit of trouble because unlike stocks, it's not making new all-time highs. In fact, it's still making lower lows and lower highs. So if we're going to make another lower low, then we should brace ourselves for the lower 50s again. Let's have a think about the 4 hourly, which unfortunately lost that 200 simple moving average. Do we have anything on this chart which has got a redeeming quality? Well, we didn't make a new low here, but if we did, we would have had bullish divergence, but we didn't. Let's check the weekly for general health, and unfortunately the weekly currently now below the 20, the 10 and the 21. So again, waiting for the week to close, because we saw all this last week and we closed above here, which gave you the I suppose the hope that we would remain above here. Yeah, we need to get ourselves closed back above. Well, we'll call it 63,000. Really, 63,000 would be perfect to close back above there. And you give more likelihood of us trending up towards the top of this trend line and hopefully breaking out at some point, like stocks have done. Now, the MACD hasn't made any positive crosses, and in the bulls case, we still have the bullish divergence on the money flow index, which historically gives you effectively the lows and the highs when it's bearish divergence. But we've got that read, so that should help us say that perhaps maybe the low was in, and that low was a candle body around the 50 exponential moving average on the weekly. If we come down to revisit that again, that is 55,500. So today is one of those days again, because it's going to be a CPI day. It's like placing an actual bet based on Bitcoin's current situation. It's not really sitting at any major supports on the 4 hourly, nor is it on the weekly. The daily is a little bit lower, where you could think about the 200 exponential being the $60,000 zone exactly, where we might find a support if we come down lower. But I don't see this as a tradable day or a tradable environment. I see it more of a stand back and see which direction it wants to go in. If it breaks out and goes up, excellent. The environment for crypto becomes more favorable. If it breaks down, then yeah, the environment for crypto is much less favorable. And so whichever way it wants to go, we have to sit back and admire it and allow it to tell the story of what it wants to do next. It's supposed to be October, isn't it? October, that's what everyone was saying. I was a little skeptical of that, and quite rightly, I think. Looking back now, we see the downside. It's not been enormous, really, if you think about it. It's not been horrendous. If you measure it from the peak down to the low, it's 10%. That's absolutely perfectly acceptable. This is crypto at the end of the day. 10% is nothing, really. It's just a little drop in the crypto ocean. But I'm more about trend, and realistically this is still a downtrend. We have to accept that, and we're below the center of the ranges on dailies, 4 hourlies, weeklies. And so it's all about sort of working out whether or not you want to take the risk. I don't feel like the risk is worth it today. I think it's too risky. But I am optimistic about the CPI. It's whether or not the markets have already priced that in. Markets being stocks. If stocks have priced it in and then they dump on that news, then crypto dumps just out of default. Because it's only a small little financial market, isn't it, crypto? I know it's much bigger than it's ever been, but still pretty small, vulnerable to a larger move in stocks. So that will be that. It is a watch and wait day, definitely, to allow for the CPI to tell us which way it wants to go. And that's fine to accept that. You just got to admit it. So I'm going to have one of those days where I just basically sloth around and probably don't see any reason to make an active trade anyway. You could probably make an attempted trade at 60,000 if we come down there, but make sure your stop losses are tight. Other than that, though, I hope you have a nice day and take it easy.